Joe.
Hi cats.
Welcome to Crafternoon Hove, and here we are today. We're going to show you how to make a Christmas wreath, and every one of you can make a Christmas wreath. You don't need any experience. You don't think, oh, I'm not very creative. Every one of you will make an amazing wreath.
And this YouTube video will really guide you through all the steps that you need to make a beautiful creation.
So Joe's going to show you how to make it. I'm going to be behind the scenes filming her, so enjoy.
Okay, off we go. Okay, so stage one, get your mossing wire and get your wreath ring, and you just need to tie off, wrap around a few times onto the outer ring, and just tie a knot to get a really secure fixing. Something that you can pull quite hard against, because this binding wire is what keeps your moss onto the frame. So it can be quite rough and ready, but it's something that's easy to pull against, so I get a good bit of tension for my moss. Just stick my gloves on. You might want to pop some gloves on as well, because this next stage is quite messy. So we'll just pop the wreath ring out of the way. You've got a lovely bag of fresh moss in your wreath kit. Empty it out. Make sure you've got quite a large workstation. Okay, and this is the fun part. This has come direct from Thetford Forest, from the forest floor. It's all sustainably farmed. It's very moist, which is good, and hopefully you've already watered it, so it's still very much alive. So this is the part we call fluffing your moss. This is the fun bit. Give it a good old fluff, tease it apart, a bit like backcombing hair in the 60s or 70s, or was it even the 80s, I'm not sure. Pick out any bits that you don't like the look of, any big bits. There's a pine cone there, a bit of a twig, and make it as large as you can. Really aerate it. This is what you're going to put the rest of your foliage against and into, and this is what's going to keep your wreath alive for as long as possible. Okay, I'm nearly happy with that. Getting it as big as I can. Bit of cotton in there for my sack, don't need that. Separate that out. Okay, so I'm nearly quite happy with this. It smells absolutely delicious. Okay, that's looking pretty good actually. That's a nice volume of moss there. Okay, push that to one side, and I'm going to pick up my wreath ring. So what we're going to do next is we're going to get all the fluff moss, and we're going to lay it evenly on top of the wreath ring, just making sure there's an even distribution throughout. It doesn't need to be perfect, but we just need to know that we've got a nice even distribution, and there's plenty of moss in your kit to do this with. This is what's going to provide the longevity of your wreath.
So is that what you keep watered?
Yeah, you need to spritz this regularly so that it keeps nice and moist. It should be all right on the door though, because you know it's not central heated, but if you are making a wreath to go maybe above your fireplace, you will need to take it down maybe once a week and give it a really good drink of a spritz of water. There we are, that's taking shape quite nicely. This is a nice adequate amount of moss we've got here. You're looking for a bit of a fat sausage really, that you're then going to squish back down as you wire it in with the mossing wire. That's being quite even. Let's get that last little bit in there. Excellent. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So we've placed our moss loosely and quite evenly around the ring. This is the bit now where we start tightening it up a little bit and just using your mossing wire here to wrap it round, okay? It's rather like your first aid when you were a Girl Guide, just kind of wrapping your bandage around.
Does it need to be tight?
It does need to be fairly tight. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you're looking for just a nice kind of chunky sausage of moss.
And is it just on the top you've got the moss?
Yeah, you don't need to, you know, this is the front of your wreath where you're going to put all your foliage. The back is just flat, so make sure it's nice and round the front. And just keep wiring it in as you go. quite reasonably tightly. Just get a nice little bit of tension going on there, and do it roughly to begin with. And then what we'll do is we'll go around again and make sure that it's nice and secure. Any bits that fall out, you can just push back in, and just round and round you go.
It's quite therapeutic, really, isn't it?
It is. It smells lovely.
Yes, this is the mindful bit.
It is the mindful bit. You're right. This is the easy bit before you start creating. So this is quite creatively untaxing and very nice and smelly of the forest. It's lovely. So take that all the way round. It is looking quite rough, but I am going to go around again and tighten it up. I've completed my mossed ring. I've been round two, probably 3 times with the mossing wire, and I've got a really nice mossed ring now, which is a really strong base for all the rest of my foliage and trimmings. I'm now going to show you what to do with the wire and how to make your hanging hook. So I'm going to turn it over so you can see there you've got your wreath ring frame. That's definitely your back. Use your scissors or secateurs to cut quite a long length. We've been quite generous with the wire, so you've got plenty of wire. And then just find part of the ring to just literally loop it through and just make a really rough and ready hanging hoop. And then you've got that there for later. I can't do it with the gloves on. So just literally put it through there, and then I'm going to put it back through there. And again, like we did at the beginning, just literally fasten it on, wrap it around a few times, and then tie it back on itself. And then what I do to make sure it's a definite hook is just twist it a couple of times. Okay, is that clear? So you've then got your hanging hook to which to hang it from your door later. Just take care as well to tuck in those wires at the back there. You don't want to scratch the front of your door. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit now about the next part of the process, which is your spruce, the lovely Christmas foliage that we've got here. Your pack will include a variety of options. You'll have probably some small pieces like that, which are perfect as they are. That's exactly about the right size. And then you'll probably have a few branches, of which you'll have to just choose which bit you use. So I'll have that bit, I'll have that bit. Just make them into smaller, more workable sections, because obviously this thick branch here is not really as useful to you. So just take off the bits you need. Some strong kitchen scissors or some secateurs will do that for you. And then you've got some more workable pieces that you can use. Yeah, you see I've got a lot off that one branch there, which is good. So once you've laid out all your spruce and you know where you're going with that, we now need to reattach our mossing wire, because we cut it when we did our hook. And again, you just do as you did right at the beginning, tuck it through the wreath frame, twist it off against itself a few times, and there you've got your base with which to start moss wiring in your spruce. So I established that I was happy that I had enough spruce and I gave a good covering. I've taken it all off now, and then I'm going to start wiring it in again with your mossing wire. Literally take a bunch of spruce, place it on the moss ring, and then wrap it a couple of times. And then you continue in that fashion until you've covered it very nicely with your spruce. A little bundle that you then just wrap those stalks in again, close against the moss ring, like that. So it's nice and secure. And this is your basis for all the other foliage that you'll have in your pack. There's another bit there, just lay on. And then try and keep it nice and full to the outer part of your ring, which will give you a little bit of a larger look. And then you can, once you've done it all, you can go back and you can trim any bits that you think maybe are too large. But just lie it on, using any other little bits just to infill. and keep on wrapping so it's nice and secure. And just carry on like that all the way around your wreath ring, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, good. I'm happy with that. Are you happy with that? Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Almost looks like a fully fledged wreath already.
Once you've wired in all your spruce, again you just need to snip your wire and tie it off at the back again so that it's all nice and secure. You've got your hook, so you're just literally getting rid of this bit. Just wrap it around a few times. This wire is really your friend because you can just wrap it back on itself, and it makes it nice and secure. Again, remembering to tuck in any of the sharp ends. I'm just going to literally cut that and then poke that bit back into the moss so that it protects your front door. Okay, I'm now going to show you, have a good look at it and see whether you think there are any gaps. So I think there's a little gap there. So take any of your little spruce offcuts that you've got, and you're just going to make a little pick now, that we call a pick. Take one of your stubbing wires, make it into a hairpin by bending about 1/3 of the way round. Then literally grab that in the crook of the hairpin, twist it back on itself so you've got a nice secure fixing. And then using the long wire, I'm going to stab, making sure I'm going the right way. I'm going to just infill that gap there by using that long bit to poke through the moss, and that's where it's a really good thing to work with, because you can poke it through to the back, place it in there, and then again just double it back on itself, pop it back into the moss ring, which kind of catches everything you've got, and then you've infilled that space there. Okay, so we've mossed our ring, we've got our spruce all the way around. This is where the magic starts to happen. This is where you can become really creative with what actually arrives in your pack. So all of you will have this. Sorry, Kat.
Is every box different?
Every box is different. People have chosen different colourways, and they will have everything they need then to start being very, very creative. So I'm going to show you now how to make some picks, so little picks of foliage and bits and pieces that you can now push in and secure to your wreath. So you'll have some stub wire, which is just the long piece of wire here. You need to make like a hairpin, so about 1/3 of the way down, make a little hairpin hook. Let's just show it to the camera there. And then you're just going to grab, so I'm going to grab some ivy and this is the gold wreath that we're showing you, and some foliage, and you just need to gather together in your hairpin the foliage stems, twist the wire back against itself so you've got a nice secure fixing, and then I'm just going to randomly stab that through my moss ring to build up and make it look personalised to my design. So stab it through, which will then pull it securely. Tuck the ends underneath your spruce, turn it round to the back, and then just push that back on itself again so that it doesn't scratch your front door. I'm going to wrap it tightly around any fixing that I can to make sure that's in really securely, and then tuck that bit away to preserve your front door. Okay, that's your first pick in there. And then I'm going to grab myself another one. I'm going to choose a different one now. I've got a nice smelly one here, which is bay and rosemary, which all of our kits will have in. And I'm just going to, I've bent my stub wire into a hairpin. I'm going to tighten it off against itself just by wrapping it around itself. And then I poke that up the stalks there. And then I'm just going to position that at the top there. And just try and think a little bit about your design and where you might want to put all your placements. Off camera, I just kind of laid it all out first to sort of see where my design was going. before I kind of committed to actually stub wiring some of the foliage in. So I'm just going to demonstrate what I mean by a pick. So I've chosen my foliage. In this case I've got some ivy and a bit of the gold variegated. Place it together. It's almost like making a buttonhole. I think that's the equivalent. You've got your stub wire, which I've created a little hairpin at the top. Wrap it around and really capture the stalks of that pick, and then literally tie it around itself and make just a little clasp there, of which I've just wrapped it around itself. So then you've got your thing that you can then, your pick that you can then stub through your moss ring, which I'll show you now. So I've got one there. I'm working on the rule of 3, so I'm going to kind of have it equidistance. So going again the same way as my fir foliage, spruce foliage. I'm going to pop that one in there, stub the wire through to the other side, push it in firmly at the front, and then stub that back on itself so that you protect your front door. There, that's starting to take a bit of colour. Right, so I'm just working my way around my wreath, having a look at what I've got. Don't need to rush this part, there's no right or wrong. This is where you style your wreath. And I'm kind of doing quite a uniform approach rather than the more crazy scattergun, which I prefer. This is the kind of foolproof way of making it look quite balanced.
Kind of like a rule of 3.
It is the rule of 3. I kind of like the odd number of 3, so I'm just kind of doing it in 3 opposing places that looks quite balanced, and it gives a nice overall look to your wreath. And just again, keep going with your foliage stubs. You can pull them back out and replace them if you're not happy. Get those all in, and then we'll start working on what's in the goodie bags, which is the exciting bit. So I've done the majority of my picks now. It's looking quite nice. It's looking pretty good. That's my hook there, that way up. Okay. It is work in progress, so you know it's not until the end that you maybe trim a few bits off and make it uniform. But the majority of my green foliage is in there now. That was with picks. You can also maybe get some other little bits that you just place in. So I've got a little bit of eucalyptus here that I'm just going to delicately balance in and push through some of the foliage to add a little bit of different coloured greenery.
Adds a bit more texture as well.
A bit more texture. I mean, it smells absolutely amazing. My daughter's just come in and said, wow, it smells great in here. And then, you know, things like euc, they're very, very delicate. Just give it a little snip. And then poke that in somewhere as well. Okay, I'm happy with that. It's looking lovely. Looking very green. Maybe we need a bit of colour on here now.
So it's gold. What's in your bag, Jo?
Right, so each wreath kit will get a little goodie bag where we've lovingly curated a whole selection of things that you could use. So let's just open this out now, and I'll show you some things to camera. So, and these are the little things that you're just going to kind of place in. So we've got gold tip feathers. We've got oranges, dried oranges, which again smell great. We've got some sprayed willow branches that you might want to place in. Pine cones. There'll be each kit will be unique and will have its own selection. Sprayed teasels, and then some natural pine cones as well. So I'm just going to show you now how to stub in and wire in. I'm just going to make a little bundle here of cinnamon and orange. Now it's quite delicate, so you're going to have to be quite careful with this. So using your stub wire, I actually like that side better.
And I guess, Jo, you might want to have a different combination. You could have a mixture of 3 oranges in a row.
Yeah.
You could have a crisscross of cinnamon sticks.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just down to personal taste at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah. So again, I've got the hairpin that I'm going to push back through the other side, and then just wire that against itself to get a good secure connection. And then I'm just going to use that, pull the wreath in, and place it somewhere. Again, I'm doing rule of 3 again, so I'm going to have that position there. Push it through and and bend it back on itself and dig it back in so it's nice and secure. Now that's nice, that gives a bit of gold. So I'm just going to show you now how to capture maybe some pine cones together. I would go back to your mossing wire because it's a little bit thinner to work with. Cut yourself a length and then grab yourself a pine cone and literally thread, holding one end, thread the twine through the little spines there. Okay, and then again wrap that off against itself, so you've got one. That's one captured. I think I might actually use a gold one for a bit of contrast. Again, feed that through the little spines there. That's two. And then I might use another natural one. No, I'm just going to go for two. Okay, and then I'm going to pull my wreath over, and this is going to be harder to push through because it's thinner, but it is doable. You just have to fiddle around a little bit, and you can just feel it. Yeah, I've got it. It's coming through, and then pull it into position. There we are. That's nice and secure. And then I've got again my wire, which this moss ring's brilliant. You just keep pushing your wire back through, fastening it off, you know, remembering that that's up at the back of the wreath. No one's ever going to see that. It can be as messy as you like. And then push that back in there so that you don't scratch your front door. Yeah, it's taking a nice bit of shape now. Okay, so it's starting to look almost done. Less is more is what I usually say. So you've got a lot of other stuff in your pack. I'm just going to demo what I would do with some of it, but I'm not going to actually use it all on this particular wreath. So we've done you some teasels. Take care, they are a little bit spiky. I'm just going to leave a reasonably long stalk, cut it, and then these stalks are actually quite secure. I'm just going to literally feed it in, and it doesn't actually need to be stub wired in, but again, watch your fingers. Stick that in there. That's pretty secure to give a bit of extra colour. I've also got the lovely little gold tip feathers, which will give a little bit of interest. And again, because of their quills, they can just be stubbed in themselves. They're pretty secure in there. I'm going to put those, I think, by the oranges. Again, my rule of 3, but it's up to you. You do exactly what you want. Just adds another little bit of bling to this gold wreath. And then I think I'm going to hand over in a minute to the Bow Queen, Catherine. But one final thing here, which are my gold sprayed twigs, willow twigs, which again I'm just going to stick behind so that they come through and make another little bit of detailing. So one there, again one up by the oranges, so I'm trying to keep it as uniform as possible. And again, they can just stab in directly into the moss, like that. And then, I can't really see that one, so I'm going to fiddle around with that and put that longer one in there. And then these two, I'm going to just pop down the bottom here. And I'm quite happy with that. That's my gold wreath done.
Thank you, Jo, for making such a beautiful wreath. I'm going to now show you different ideas for bows. So it's really up to you, really. Grab your ribbon. Some people might not even want to have a bow. Some people choose to have a ribbon running around the top of it. Totally up to personal taste. So I'm just literally, everyone knows how to tie a bow. Get a loop, turn it over. You want to make it look very neat at the front if you can. Loop it round, tighten it to the level that you want, and then, you know, you could put the bow anywhere. On this occasion, we're going to put the bow at the bottom because we think that looks fairly even. And what we do, we just get another stub wire like we did before. Thank you, Jo. Pop it in the back, as you can see, very similar to how you do.
Just to sort of stubbing it in like the pigs. I must say I don't like a bow. I just like to use my ribbon as my hanging strap. Just because it's kind of less fussy, but I know lots of people do like bows. It's down to individual taste.
We're going to pop the bow there, turn it over, and I'm just going to stub it in just as Joe has shown you. I'm going to let the ribbon just hang. You might want to cut it, entirely up to you. So here is the finished wreath.
Beautiful.